Hello, everyone. Welcome to the K Touch, where we have art and conversation. Today, I have a phenomenal guest, Debra Erickson. Now, Debra is phenomenal for different things, but something that is quite unique about Debra is she is the CEO, the founder of The Blind Kitchen. Now, the Blind Kitchen provides adaptive culinary guidance and skills and materials to people who suffer from vision loss or impairment of some sort. And I came across her profile on the internet, and I said to myself, I really had to have her here, because when I read of what she was doing, I was just blown away by it. So we're going to be having a chat about it and how she's been able to successfully establish such a brand. Debra, welcome to the K Touch.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thank you for such a lovely introduction.
I'm just saying the facts. It's literally the facts. I was blown away, but we're not going to jump the gun here. The audience is going to understand why I'm as excited to have this conversation right now. But let's just kick on. Let's just start this off. Who is Debra? Introduce us to who you are.
Yes, well, I am Debra Erickson. I am the executive chef and founder of The Blind Kitchen, where we provide adaptive culinary tools and cooking strategies for people with vision loss who want to cook. Now, I also am blind, and I have retinitis pigmentosa, and I learned all of this stuff the hard way, but I figured it out. I went to culinary school as the only blind student, and so I had to solve a lot of problems, and that's how The Blind Kitchen came to be. I wanted to share what I had learned, because I didn't invent all of this stuff. I just learned about it, and now I'm making it available to a wider audience.
Wow. So we're going to come to how you, first of all, made that decision to get into culinary school, first of all, because I've read a few things. I know you were once into teaching, but let's start with how this all started for you, encountering vision loss. What was that like, and when did you first notice this was a something you were experiencing?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I was diagnosed when I was 28 years old. We didn't know. I'm one of 12 kids from Indiana, and I have two brothers with the eye disease as well, but there's no family history of it. So my parents were apparently recessive gene carriers, and it showed up in three of us. But when I was young, I had astigmatism in my left eye, so I always had to wear glasses, and I hated it because I was a tomboy. I wanted to climb trees. They don't stay on your face very well, and I'd get into all kinds of trouble because I'd leave them at the base of trees or put them on the bumper of the car, and somebody'd drive off with it. But about every year, they would drive about, and my sister wore glasses as well. Again, just a mild stigmatism, and so they'd gather up about half a dozen of us, drive us to the Dr. Korn. You can't make this up in Indiana. His last name was Korn. And once I was diagnosed, we went back through my records and all of ours, and he said I had decreased peripheral vision at age 17. But that got lost. So wow. I went on. So with retinitis pigmentosa, the onset is usually in adolescence, but the signs are lack of night vision and lack of peripheral vision. But unless you go and get tested for either of those, that's not something you usually get tested for. So you can go many years without even knowing you have a problem.
Okay, that's an interesting one. And then I can only imagine how it had to be for you to cope with those changes. I mean, physically seeing it happen. Because I know with some other people, obviously, it'd be something that they were born that way, and so growing up that way was something they would, because they were introduced to it, as it were, early on in life. I don't know what kind of adjustments they would have had, but with you, I'm just trying to imagine what it was like losing vision after getting so used to it all and still being able to pull through that. That must have been a very challenging experience.
You know, it comes and goes. The challenges do. You know, with my mood, it comes and goes. It of course never adjusting to any type of disability or lesser ability than you used to have is going to be hard for anyone, regardless of what that is. Yeah. But like you said, when people are born with vision loss, and people know it's part of their identity. This is who I am. Blindness was not vision impaired was not part of my identity, and I didn't want it to be. I fought it for a long time because I could fake it without using a cane. But people were refusing to serve me in bars because they thought I'd already been drinking. It's like, no, yeah, but I just
No.
can't see. But if you're
Wow.
not carrying a cane or something like that, how can they know? And they're just going to, that's what we do as humans. We make up stories for
Mm.
things that we don't understand. And
Yep.
so I finally did give into it in my early 50s
Okay.
and started my blind skills training and stuff like that. So I've got to say, and then the third way to lose your vision is suddenly overnight, like in an accident or a botched
Yes.
operation or something like that. And whether I were to be born blind or lose it overnight, I can't talk to those experiences because
Yep.
they aren't mine.
Yep.
But
Yep.
but it just comes and goes like the weather.
Mm. But now this is where I'm fascinated. You have for a great percentage of your life, a great amount of your life, were involved in teaching, interpersonal teaching, one-to-one teaching, and then now fast forward, you are making this movement is how I like to see it, with regards to access for people with visual impairments, and having that support system with culinary skills and all of that. How did you make such a transition? Where did that all come about?
It's a good question, and I would say it's like you being an artist. It's just a passion that's born in you. I am creative, but art was never my medium. Food is now. It's a fun one, but I have teaching is what comes natural to me. I love to teach, and I like to teach adults. Not to have anything wrong with kids, but I don't want to do the discipline. I want adults
That's
that
fine.
want to learn. Yep. I've got a low hanging fruit. I'll take it. So I had taught professional writing and I had taught mediation in my past, and I knew I didn't want to go back to teaching those because I had a certain way of doing it, and I knew I'd be very frustrated if I had to modify it. I loved the way I did it. I didn't want to learn to do it a different way. So when I was taking a cooking class under Sleep Shade, where they completely blindfolded me, I was not a good cook. I could get by, but it wasn't a passion for me. Cooking
Yeah.
was not, teaching was. So I was in the kitchen and being trained on how to do it without vision, and I thought, I'm enjoying this. I'm having fun. I mean, of course, I was terrified
Yeah.
to use an oven and a stovetop
Yeah.
before I was able to master it, but I enjoyed learning different tools and things, and so I thought, I can teach cooking. I'd like to do this. That's what I'll get a job doing this. And then all of a sudden I realized, wait, you don't know how to cook. You can barely get by. How are you going
Oh,
to teach
wow.
other people, and specifically people with vision loss, how to
Yeah.
cook? And so that's when I thought, and I'm very skills based. So I thought, where can because to me at the beginning of it, the teaching cooking, it's all over the place, different cooking methods, different tools, different history, art, science, it's all of that. And I was like, I don't know how to put this into an organized framework, but somebody already has, and those are the culinary educators.
Yeah.
So that is how I came to want to go to culinary school, so that I could
Wow.
understand the framework and have an organized way to present the information
Oh
to
wow.
my future students. Yeah, that's how it came to be.
Well, how
It
was
wasn't a
it?
straight path.
So, what was the how long did it take between when you'd gone to your first experience with cooking and learning it formally, and that decision to actually branch out and do your own thing?
Yeah, well, here in the United States, I don't know how it is in the UK, but we have vocational rehabilitation programs.
Oh.
And in order to get the extensive training that provides, you have to agree that you're going to go look for a job. If you're a retired adult that's lost their vision, you don't want to work, you have access to different services. So this is about getting people into the workforce, because about 70% of people with vision loss are unemployed. It's a very high percentage, and
I didn't know
so
that.
yeah, it's really high. So there's and we can go into the reasons for that, but there's a strong focus on getting people prepared to go into the workplace with whatever way and accessibility and things like that. So I knew I wanted to teach something, but I didn't know what. And so that was so I knew I was vocation oriented. I just didn't know what I wanted to do when I started that training. So I was probably about a year, maybe a year and a half into the training when I set myself, I said, I think this is what I want to do. I want to give it a try.
Yeah. Oh wow. And now you're doing phenomenal things. I've watched a number of your videos on YouTube. I've seen some of your interviews as well. I've read your profile, seen some published material on Google. So I can't see where this thing is going, and I'm really excited about it. And honestly, I can't wait to hear the many things that are going to come out of this. But let's just move a bit further. The blind kitchen itself. I know you've talked a bit about it already. Tell us a bit about what the vision is. So you're going into this, um, encouraging, motivating people, making the necessary tools and materials available to those who suffer vision loss. But is that the ultimate aim, or is there something else that you're looking at?
So I have a couple of things that I want to come out of this. First of all, my customers, the Blind Kitchen provides accessible tools. We have over 90 of them now,
Oh,
but they also provide information and tips and strategies that
yeah.
don't cost any money that people can just access.
Hmm.
The people that come to me are people that want to cook. And a lot of them are older adults who were the primary cooks for their families, but now because of age-related vision loss conditions, they don't have a clue how to get back in the kitchen and are afraid. And of course, how could you possibly know if you don't
Yeah.
have vision loss yourself or know anyone? And the other thing is yeah. So those are a lot of mine. So the people that come to me are motivated.
Okay.
I'm not like a school teacher where the kids have to
Mm,
show up and sit in class.
mm.
I've got a very welcoming and lovely audience out there. I, I'm trying to remember the second part of your question. Oh,
Yeah.
where
So
it wants to go.
yes, yes.
Okay. Well, if people who have vision loss, not all, of course, but many of them are very socially isolated. If you don't have, it's a very visual world we live in, and I have really had to make some adjustments to my expectations
Hmm.
of people and things, which I would expect if, for example, if you and I go out together and have a cup of coffee, I would expect that you would tell me what the coffee kind of coffees they have if I can't access it on my
Yeah.
phone. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of technology. It's amazing right now,
Hmm.
but some people just don't think,
Yeah.
or they're too afraid to say something because they don't want to say something wrong.
Yeah.
So it's just,
I don't
and
want
I
to
get
cause
it.
offense. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly, I get it. But it's so I. The other thing I would like to do is for some people who are less gregarious than I
Hmm.
am, that they might find joy in their own homes, in their own kitchens by doing this. And so towards the future,
Hmm.
dining together is a very social activity. It's a
It is.
bridge between people and cultures and storytelling and history. All of that happens around a kitchen table, or it's a common experience that somehow I can reach people that are isolated or feel lonely
Yeah.
through food, like having cook-alongs, or I don't know exactly what I can do to do that. I kind of we serve people when the orders come in. We send or phone calls come in. Whatever we take care of them one by one. But I'd like to figure out a way to create a community around cooking with vision loss because there's a
Hmm.
lot of us out there. There's a lot of us out there.
Yeah. And I mean, just what you said, that's really good about how you can guide people who maybe through, you know, old age and just growing up are slowly losing their vision, and just giving them that support in itself instills a kind of confidence. And when you were talking, that just came to my mind as well was that independence. As humans, we like the independence. We're not really too great with people, you know. I mean, we like accepting help, but no one wants to be treated as though they can't do anything without assistance. And you know, with what you're doing, at least people would get this confidence and know, oh, well, in this aspect, at least in the kitchen, and concerning this dish A and B and C, this is something I can do once I have the tools to support me. So that's really, really inspiring. It is. But tell me about the challenges you've faced with the career you're pursuing now, this direction you're going with the culinary arts. What kind of obstacles do you think you faced, or someone who might want to be in your position, learning their way around the kitchen and around, you know, cooking with vision loss? What kind of challenges they would experience?
I think it'd be kind of the same challenges anyone learning to cook would be, the science of it and the art of it and all that. The most difficulty. So I wear two hats, a chef hat, and then I wear a business hat as well. And the business end of it has been the harder one for me, because it's complicated, and you can't rest for that, as you know, with your own project there. So so I think in the kitchen, if I had to say, my biggest barrier is actually time. I'm slower now. I can't just glance and grab something. I have to be very thoughtful. Well, we have towel clips now, which is a different story. But before, when I would set a towel down on the counter, and I'd be very careful of where it was, those Irish fairies would come and throw it on the floor. I'd go back for it, and I'd usually find it when I step on it. So but now I had to figure out an answer to that problem. How am I going to do this? And it could be, we've got these towel clips that you clip to an apron, but it could be as simple as a safety pin.
Mm-hmm.
It could be as simple as a safety pin. Going through your belt buckle, or going through the belt loop, or going through your apron or clothing, and now your towel's going to travel with you. That solved that problem for me. So that's one example of how, when I found a challenge in the kitchen, I tried to find a way to make it easier for myself first, and then so I can practice it and refine it and make sure I got the best model or the best whatever. And truth is, I love doing that, so it's all good.
I'm going to quiz you a bit about the business aspect, because I find that fascinating. But looking at you, when you're doing the presentations and you're filming and all of that, I didn't even know, because I saw your videos before I even looked up your profile. So I couldn't even tell that there was a vision impairment. I couldn't tell,
That's so interesting.
No, really, I couldn't tell. Yeah. I had to ask myself, is this really someone who has experienced vision loss? Because you look so confident behind the kitchen bench, and you look like you've got this whole thing organized. And if that is the case, even with experiencing vision loss, I can only imagine the quality of training that you're going to bring to people who would like to experience that as well. So I was just going to put that out there. It was phenomenal seeing some of the videos.
Well, thank you. I have an excellent videographer. His name is, I'm going to give him props, Edgar Garcia Chavez of Neo Creations, and he's a perfectionist. And it's so funny. So when I'm doing the videos, he sets it up, makes sure the lighting's right, and there's different cameras in the studio, and they set a really bright light up. And so I'm not looking at the camera. I'm looking wherever that light is, because that's what I can see. So that's how I know where to look. Yeah. And we were doing like the measuring spoons, and we have to do the takes like 5 times just to get the right footage. And he'll come out and he'll rearrange everything just so on the work tray in front of me. I'm like, Edgar, this is not what a blind kitchen looks like. So we do it with smoke and mirrors, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he's a very patient fella for him to still be able to make adjustments, because that's what it's about, really. You've come out to us and said, you don't have everything sorted out. It's been a journey for you. It's like trial and error and seeing what works, and then picking the best fit. So tell us a bit about the testimonies, because you've told us, people come in, and you've guided them, you've provided materials. What's the kind of feedback you're getting?
The one that makes me the most emotional and really touches my heart are people who say they've been able to regain their identity. And those cooks. That's probably why I brought it up before. I wasn't conscious, but those are the ones that touch my heart. There's others of people that were never allowed in the kitchen growing up. And it comes from a very good place from parents. I don't want my child to get burned. I don't want them to get cut. And I don't know how to teach them if they can't see what's going on. And so those are the other ones, those people that were never allowed in the kitchens. And somehow, but most of them are really good at technology and stuff, so they can find me where their parents probably can't. But they can find me. And then now it's like I know I can cook in the kitchen. I just didn't know. And it comes from a very good place from parents. But if they don't know, and that's the other population that I'm trying to reach, are people that want to know how they're to teach their children to cook, because
Yeah,
I can't put up
yeah.
videos for children to teach themselves how to cook. I'd be
Mm,
sued out of town. It
yeah,
would be terrible.
yeah.
But parents can teach their children how to cook in their own kitchens on their own appliances, which there's such a difference between all the different kinds of appliances, the
Yeah.
knobs versus buttons versus flat screen. There's not one answer. There are usually about 12 right answers for any challenge.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that at some point that your message and your reach. I'm hoping it extends to agencies that provide services for people in
Mm-hmm.
experiencing these kinds of situations as well, as a way of, because we all need the motivation. Some people would never know that such things were possible until someone brings it and introduces it. So that's really where my excitement is coming from, just knowing that there are people to be reached out to this who would, like you say, just gain back their identity, their level of autonomy and independence, and confidence as a result of this. So I'm really excited about it. A bit about the business angle. Was it something that took a lot of effort to establish? So you've told me about a bit of the trial and error, and did you ever get to a point where you were like, I don't think this is going to work?
By the time I got to that point, I was too deep in.
I like that. I like that.
I was too deep into it. It felt like, like I was. It's a compass. It's facing north. This is my path, and and in spite of the challenges, which everyone has challenges,
Yeah.
it's been worth it. But probably the more difficult ones is how inaccessible the world can be, especially the world of computers. It would not take that much for people. So my computer has software, and my phone, and has screen readers on them. Basically, when something comes across the screen, or I direct it using keyboard commands and shortcuts to navigate the page, it'll tell me what's on them. But
Yeah.
there are so many websites and forms, like for becoming a vendor or whatever, that I need to fill out, and it'll say button,
Yeah.
button, button. I don't know if it's the pay button. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
go to the next
Yeah.
page button. It's completely inaccessible to me, even with the screen reader. And so, but if the company just have to put in a little line of code that says it's the exit button or next page button. So that's one thing that some of our national organizations are really pushing very hard for, demanding that of. And things like the film industry, they have been very accessible to us in recent years with audio description. So for a lot, especially things like, I'm just going to name the names that I'm familiar with, like Netflix and Hulu and Prime. All those shows that they have are often audio described, where when the characters aren't talking, they never talk over the characters, but a professional voice will tell me what's going on in the background. It's terrible. Don't watch violent shows, because it's worse to hear the violence
I
that's
can
happening.
imagine. I
It's
can
awful,
imagine.
because then your brain makes up the pictures. But I've got to say, the movie industry has been very, not all films are audio described or anything like
Yeah.
that, but many of them are. They've really responded, in spite
wow.
of the fact that it being an extra cost for them.
Yeah.
So I don't know why the computer industry hasn't, or the computer industry hasn't
Catch
kept up with it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad you've mentioned that actually on this podcast, and I'm hoping that the more people talk about this, the more someone will get a kick in the back to say, this is something that needs to be addressed. Because I think it's phenomenal that you've mentioned. You said earlier on in our chat how a great percentage of people who've experienced vision loss, can't even have access to jobs, or are not working because there isn't a support system for them. It's really important that messages like this get across, and I'm hoping it would reach the right people. So thanks a lot for saying that. So I know that I've asked you a bit about the background for the Blind Kitchen, but there are a few things I want to, poke your mind, your brain on, and just get you, coming from you. I think it would have a greater impact, an immense impact. I'm just thinking a lot with regards to, people who might look at what you are doing and come from an angle of saying things like, doesn't the fact that you are introducing these adaptive materials and sets, doesn't that encourage more segregation? So in the sense of, isn't it better to kind of get people who are experiencing this kind of vision loss to adjust properly to fit in with others rather than have something separate. I was just wondering what you would say to such people.
Yeah, that is a valid perspective, and it is actually reflects the philosophy of our two biggest national groups. Some would some espouse the be independent, be as normal as you can be, less accommodations, just fit in, and versus the other ones is like, let's help people to adjust. And there's truth in both camps, without a doubt, but for me, and maybe it's the nature of my business where people can get burnt and people can get cut. So I'm going to go on the more conservative side and say, let's give them the tools so they don't cut themselves. And the other thing is so the cut glove that we have, that you can't cut through it. The way I learned about that was I was working in a commercial kitchen, and the insurance company required that all the cooks wear that cut glove when they are cutting. So that's a mainstream tool. How can I be gone all through blind school, never heard about it? Sometimes you would have access to that information. Maybe you're watching a cooking show and you see someone wearing a glove that they don't talk of. I don't have access to that information. So I just want to make it as accessible as possible. And there's also a good point about enabling people, making it too adaptive for them. And I have to say, I don't think anything can be too adapted. If somebody has a challenge and there's an answer to it in the form of a tool or knowledge, what's the harm in letting them access that? If they choose not to use it, then don't use it if you don't want it. Don't wear a cut glove, ever. I'm okay with that. But if you... And if you can't see, and if you figured out a way, good for you. But there's a lot of people that haven't figured it out.
Correct. And I agree with you 100% on that. It's for me, it's more of the philosophy of better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Because everyone, I think, even people, not necessarily people who have one disability or the other, everyone has various levels of experience, various backgrounds in different stages, and that's why they should have materials to support them in the various stages that they are. So I agree with you on that. I don't think it's necessarily a case of you being too creating materials that are too adaptive. I think if people need it, the materials are there, they can have access to it. So yeah, I think that basically should be enough for anyone who's got an issue with it. But where do you draw the line between, and I didn't even know this was a thing, where do you draw the line between empowerment and over accommodation? Do you think, I would say it's something that would be more subjective than anything else. I think everyone would have their level of where they would draw the line at it.
Right. No, I think that's on a case-by-case basis, because all of us aren't born into the same wealth status. So some people can afford things that I can't afford, or we aren't all born even living near a grocery store. And if you can't see, how are you going to get there? With public transportation and things like that. So it's such an individual. And I know people who have their 40-year-old kids still living in their basement, and some might call that over accommodation. I tend to agree, depending on the situation. But when it comes to cooking and stuff like that, I don't see a danger there, unless your accommodations are preventing that person from becoming the very best they can be at whatever they want. Yeah.
Thanks. I agree with you on that as well. So I know you went blind at a latter point in your life, or started experiencing the actual impact of that at a latter point. So do you believe that the services you offer would be useful or relevant to people who've encountered vision loss earlier on?
Absolutely. And the other, and you brought it up earlier too, is agencies that teach people with vision loss how to cook often buy from the Blind Kitchen, and repeatedly over and over, because there are budgets for that, and they can give the tools to their students to take home. Because if I teach you how to let's say use a special tool to perform a task, and then I send you home without the tool,
not useful, is it? No,
you can't afford it. So they want to definitely make sure that these skills can cross to the line. So, yeah, I think that the earlier you can introduce your children to cooking, the better it will be. And it depends on the child's ability, their intelligence,
Yeah.
their motivation. Do they even want to cook? A lot of people don't. So, the earlier you can introduce them and not have that fear. I taught adults with vision loss, legally blind adults in the state of Oregon at the commission. I did one-on-one cooking classes with them.
Yeah.
And I'd have 18, 19-year-old, and I hate to say it, but it was almost always males. I've never had a female that was even born blind that had never been in the kitchen. But I had males that had no clue about anything about it because of the protectiveness. Some had to do with culture, women's roles versus men's roles, and some had to do with just the protectiveness of the parents, and well placed, but they would. I had one. We made bacon in the oven, and you put it out. You cook it all at once, the whole pound of bacon, and then you pull it out. You can hear it sizzling. It's scary to do that, and you might tip the tray. You know, those baking sheets aren't that deep. He literally pulled it out. He placed it on the stove. He closed the oven door. We'd practice this on a cold stove many times. I just put water in the bottom of the pan, so he's not going to get hurt when he's practicing. And once he wasn't spilling water anymore, okay, now we're going to go to the next stage. Yeah, exactly. He literally. I put my hand on his shoulder. I was standing right next to him, and he started jumping up and down. He was so proud of himself. And it's like, wow, the joy he had of facing that fear and being able to overcome it. It paralyzes some people that they can't get past it. But he faced it and got past it, and I had that. Not everybody jumped up and down, but it was the adrenaline and the nerves and all of that. It was a beautiful thing. I'll tell you, it was a beautiful thing.
Well, tell me a bit about, do you feel that there's a lack of diversity with regards to disability and entrepreneurship? I've had people on my show, on my podcast, people who've had different levels of disability. So I've had people who've had, physical disabilities, but others with neuro disabilities as well. But I just want to know what your thoughts are in terms of whether or not we've got enough people with disabilities owning and running companies.
I really don't have any data on that. I know there are not a lot of blind entrepreneurs out there that I know about. There are some, and some of them are very good and very successful. And of interest also, podcasting is a blind thing. It started out before YouTube. It was just all audio, just like radio, but interactive. So it's out there, but it's not just like anything. It's going to be harder. If I can see, I can hear, I can walk, I can drive, my life is going to be easier than somebody that can't do any one of those things. So there's going to be challenges. You have to surround yourself by the right people that believe in you and will go through the hardships with you. But I don't know. Just keep one step at a time.
Yeah, but you've mentioned about the support. I find your story fascinating. Tell me a bit about the support you've gotten in terms of personal support. I know I've heard you mention, I think it was on another podcast, about a mentor, the role the family has played as well. Can you share a bit about that?
Yeah, well, I'm married. And my husband can see and drive, and he helps all the time with the blind kitchen in terms of packaging and shipping and stuff like that. And the other nice thing is he stays out of my way.
That must be difficult to do.
That's true. It's true. He can see me coming. It's okay. But he lets me make the business decisions because I'm closer to it than he is. And plus, he's a retired railroad engineer. He thinks I'm crazy. So he's good. And I have two sons that are very, both have been entrepreneurs at different times. My youngest son still owns a company. The older one had to let it go, but he's very supportive. And then my brothers and sisters, in fact, the two brothers with RP are also entrepreneurs. They're inventors. They both do, they work closely together. We talk almost every day. One's in Indiana, one's in California, and I'm here in Oregon. But they've invented a couple of things for the blind kitchen or adapted it. And so, but the other support that I have specifically for completing business tasks, I'd be remiss if I did not mention my team. I've got a website designer made the website really clean. You don't see any pop-up ads. There's nothing to distract because.
Yep, I've heard you say that before. Yeah,
Oh my goodness,
aren't you?
I am very proud of that because it's so frustrating to try and navigate a site. And so you have a cursor that you move around with your mouse or your touchpad.
Yep.
We have a virtual cursor. It's literally what it's called. So when something pops up, it gets the cursor's attention. And now whatever I was reading is gone. I've got to try and find it again. Tab, 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 tab. So it takes forever. So then I also have my videographer, editor. I spoke of him, who also is a photographer as well. And he's the one that does like all the thumbnails and edits all the videos. And then I have a marketing person who puts out a newsletter and also does like along with Edgar, they both manage the Facebook and almost said Instagram accounts. But another key player on my team is called their services. I think you're going to enjoy this. They're called visual interpretation services. Oh. And what they can do is I call them. It's very simple access. And it's called, I'll tell you about the first one, Be My Eyes. It's run by volunteers. It's completely free. You just have to sign up with your email to get through, and then I can call them and say, what color are my do my shoes match? And they can direct my camera on my phone to look at my shoes.
Oh wow.
And tell me, or can you tell me what's in this can I'm holding? And they can turn it a little bit. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, that's cream of mushroom soup or whatever.
Wow.
But then there's a paid version of that, which you have to pay for. It's called IRA, but I could not have run this business without it. They not only can they do exactly those things I'm talking about, but let's say I'm looking for a specific type of an item, and it needs to be a certain shape, certain size, made out of a certain material. They can go on their own computer, wherever they're working from, and look it up and say, oh, this looks like exactly what you want. And then they shoot me a link to my email, and then I can purchase it myself without giving them my information or anything. They also can remote into my. Good. It is. They can also remote into my computer. So if I'm having problems with something, and I usually am on the computer, they will. They can remote in where I give them permission, and then they can help me fill out those forms and stuff. They take over my computer. I can still hear what's going on because of my screen reader, but they help me fill out those forms that I can't fill out, and also to help do things quicker because I'm so slow at things. It's worth it to pay them a couple of dollars when it's going to take me an hour. My time should be used elsewhere, teaching and that sort of thing. So that's been a key service. So the other thing is about the IRIS service. They are bonded. So even if they see my financial information or whatever, I have a legal protection. I have no idea who's on the other end of the phone with the Be My Eyes. And I'm so grateful to them. So I do a mix between the two. If it's not something really sensitive or something that, just identifying something or something like that, I'll call Be My Eyes.
Wow.
It's a great service.
Oh, okay. It's all new. And this is why I'm really glad I'm speaking with you. And I'm hoping that people would, because information is power, right? And it's really good when someone who's experienced this is able to share these tools and say, these are available. These are this is the assistance I'm using, and these are the materials that are available on my website that can make your life a lot easier. So thanks a lot for sharing that. Tell me a bit about tech and smart kitchen options such as ovens and microwaves. I didn't even know these things were a thing. But how do you have any experience with this? And is it positive so far? What's the vibe that you have about these?
Setup can be difficult. Sometimes you need eyes for that, but you can use your phone to get eyes on it or to mark it, like using bump dots or some kind of tactile information so I can run it the next time when you're not there to help me do it. So getting it set up is usually the hardest part. Using it is fabulous. Like I have my microwave convection oven combination. I tell my smart speaker, preheat the smart oven to 350 degrees.
Nice.
Preheating your smart oven to 350, and you can hear it start up. I can be across the room. The same thing happens
I love
with
your
my...
humor, but
That was my deep voice. But I run my air fryer that way. The other thing, artificial intelligence is simply amazing. If you've not used like Chat GPT or whatever, so the audio description, the Be My Eyes has something called Be My AI also. If I don't really want to call a volunteer, and it'll say, take a picture, I double tap on it, take a picture, it'll tell me in detail from ceiling to floor, from wall to wall, whatever can get in that camera angle, what color things are, where they are. It's amazing. And then Meta and Ray-Ban have gotten together. Have you heard about the smart glasses?
No, please tell me.
My gosh, you're going to love these.
Good information.
Oh my gosh, so these were not made for blind people, but the blind they've caught on fire. Then there's more than one version. This is the one I know about because it's the one I purchased, and it's a pair of sunglasses, and you can also get prescription lenses put in, and they're high quality because they're made by Ray-Ban, so it's a good name. They're well made, but they have microphones somewhere. No. I think they're just below the nose. Oh yeah, below the nose piece. Good microphones because they're meant for influencers so that they can be hands-free to take pictures and take short videos. It's all and then the sound comes, you know how the arms come around your ears?
Yeah.
It's kind of like bone conduction, that the sound, I don't have anything in my ears like my earbuds or anything like that. But I'm still getting very clear sound, and then the camera is located in the front of the right lens. So I can either take a picture physically just by pressing a little button.
All of that communication going just to create a mental picture of what you need.
Of what I'm looking at, yeah. And the other thing is the right arm of it is actually a touch screen. I can turn up the volume, I can double tap it to answer a call, I can turn down the volume by swiping just like you would on your touchpad. And so I can actually, plus those can't do, and I understand there's some other ones, I think they're Google, that are in production. They can't describe anything moving. They can only describe a picture if you take it. So it's you're going to be behind, but that's okay. That's way better if I couldn't see anything else. And I can say, hey, so it's got an assistant, and I can say, hey Meta, and I'm sure they're using Google for that. Hey Meta, is there a door in this room? No, there does not appear. It'll look and see if there's a door. I can also hold an order in my hand, and I can say, hey Meta, what date was this order placed? I hear it takes its own picture. I hear it snap, and then it goes through, and it can isolate that piece of information that I've asked for. It's crazy. It's crazy.
That's really good. I didn't even know we were at that level yet with these things. So thanks.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good technological advancement there. So we're gonna take a break from all the serious questions. I wanna come back and take a step back and just ask you a few things about what you really enjoy about this experience. So what would you say is just share some of those joyful moments, those parts you really enjoy about the Blind Kitchen.
I really like the impact it has on people, on their independence and their safety. That's really important, and part of my core values. I mean, that's just who I am. I'm no saint or anything like that, but it's nice to be able to be in a position where you can really impact people's lives. And that is a huge honor to do that. It's a privilege, because not all of us, even if it's part of ourselves, can figure out how to do it. And I found a way to do it and enjoy myself in the process. You've heard me. I laugh at presentations. I talk about the things I've done wrong, the mishaps I've had, because I had them when I could see. What makes you think I'm not going to have them when I can't see anymore? But I enjoy interacting with people. It gets me out. It keeps me learning. Oh my goodness. I love to learn. And as the older you get, you're not going to school anymore. You're not getting these opportunities to learn. It definitely slows down unless you seek them out. And so this one, people write to me all the time with questions. I have no idea. How would I do? But that helps the Blind Kitchen to grow, because now I can say, oh, I've got to solve that problem. And I can't solve them all. I really can't. Like, I can't devein a shrimp. It just, there's no tactile information. I just mutilate them when I try. But you know what you do? You buy shrimp that's already deveined. Hello. There's generally an answer one way or another. Well, I have the joy of pulling that little intestinal thing out. No, that didn't bring me joy anyway when I could see.
Wow. So, I just really, the more you say this, it's just wonderful. And I'd really like to see you in action, just doing it. And that would just be phenomenal to see and watch. But tell me again as well, do you have any favorite meals you would like to prepare? What's your go-to dish, for instance, the one you love doing?
Well, it changes all the time, but I'll tell you about a recent one I did baked radishes. Nobody bakes radishes. We always put them in salads. I I don't know where that came from, but it did. It came into my brain. We're trying to eat healthier here. And all I did was cut off the stem end and the root end, and then I did them just to begin with in salt and pepper and olive oil, and then I roasted them. Oh, I also cut a little bit into it because I was afraid they might explode. I wasn't sure.
Oh, wow.
I've never done it before, you know. Baked potatoes can explode if you don't pierce the skin.
Yep.
I thought this is a pretty dense vegetable. I probably ought to be on the safe side. And he turned out really, really good. Yeah.
Wow.
But I like doing things with, I'm not a big baker. I can bake, but my happy place is more on the stovetop where I'm doing like chicken marsala or something where I'm adjusting or a curry where I'm adjusting the different spice combinations and stuff. And I tend to focus on just one. Like last night when I was cooking, I was making a sauce and I wanted oregano. So that's what I focused on. I don't put the whole Italian seasoning blend in generally because you can't isolate things. It's delicious, but you can't isolate it. And I like to isolate things.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Okay. So you mentioned something about, I just wanted to take you a bit back when you were talking about AI and its support. I'm really glad you said it because I've had a few guests on my show and people I've talked with in the past about the rise of AI and things like ChatGPT and Midjourney and all of these software. And, you know, people have mixed experiences, mixed fears about it. So it's really good when you've got someone who can see the benefit of it, you know, sharing an idea of how this can be used to improve the lives of people. So that's just amazing, really. So ChatGPT, is it kind of your go-to in terms of that experience?
It's more Be My AI would be where I go to, but I don't know enough about AI to be afraid of it. I really don't. I know it should be. I know it should be.
I used to think when I think AI, all I think is Terminator and the rise of machines and all of that. And I know that's kind of out there. It's the worst kind of example to use.
No, I think you're right. I think that's the little I know of it. It's the machines are going to take us over. And they'll be just like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Hal, let me in. Sorry, Hal, I can't do that.
Well, these are just fears. I think I'm not saying the fears are not justified, but I think a lot is just filled with misinformation. Sometimes people have fear what they can't understand. But
absolutely, and I can see it going. How it could potentially go that way, but I would hope there's enough guardrails on it that people would see it coming. I have to have confidence in people that are smarter than me that they don't want to be run by machines. So
nobody wants that. No. I think we as humanity, I think we've got checks and balance, and I'm pretty confident of people who are doing that. So
wait, real quick, but with the politicians we have right now, maybe I would rather have a machine. Sorry, I didn't say that out loud, did I?
But we're slowly coming to the end of this podcast. You've been an excellent guest, I must say. Honestly, thanks for sharing a lot about your journey. Tell me about the future for the Blind Kitchen. I've seen a few videos, with you going. I think there was one experience you had where, I don't know, was it just me? You invited a few people for a blind experience, and I think you made the meal. I can't remember it. Yeah, so can you share that with us, a bit of that experience, how it was?
So what it was my team. It's a dining in the dark experience.
Oh, right.
And there's a local restaurant around here that you have to wear, if you can see, and it's mostly sighted people that go to it. They have to wear blindfolds, and then you're given a 7-course meal. It was absolutely delicious, but they don't tell you what it is. They say you'll probably want to eat this with a spoon.
Yeah, and then I think I saw people in the videos picking up nothing and putting it in. So basically,
air bites. Air bites. It was so funny.
Air bites. Yes, that's what it's.
That's a good diet. But you'd be surprised how hard it is to eat without looking at your food, cutting it, not knocking it off the plate. You think you've done it for, I don't know how old you are, but let's say 30 years you've done it, and you do it 3 times a day. Why? Wow. You can do a lot of things without brushing your teeth. You don't have to look in the mirror to do that. You can close your eyes. Eating is a lot harder for whatever reason, and you only brush twice a day. So eating's 3 times a day.
Wow. But what's the future for the Blind Kitchen? What are we looking forward to seeing?
Well, part of it is finding a way to create a community around cooking and vision loss. That there's a core group of people there that would love that, and nobody's done that yet. And I'm not sure how to do it, but when I have time, that's where it'll go to.
Wow.
I'm writing a cookbook.
I was going to ask that. Really,
Yeah.
that was the next thing I was going to ask. Yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah. So I'm writing a cookbook. I do a newsletter, and I put a recipe in it. So those I'm thoughtful about which ones I choose, not only for the season or the month, but also what am I missing in that cookbook collection? So, and I don't know how to publish a cookbook, so we'll have to see how that goes. Yeah. So and adding tools as I need them and problem solving, and I think that's it. Yeah.
Wow, that's already a big one. Really, just all of those things, just juggling every single one, and I'm sure you do fabulous. Just establishing something like this in itself, honestly, you've got my respect, complete respect.
Well, thank you. It's probably not as well deserved. We try and make it look invisible, but
Wow.
it's been an interesting journey.
Wow.
Don't always get it right, but we get it right enough of time to stay in business. So.
Yeah. So finally, just share some advice for people suffering with vision loss. In terms of pursuing passions. I mean, talking from your experience and all of that. What would you say?
I would say find out what your true north is. What turns you on? What would get you out of bed to do it? It's probably not cleaning bathrooms. That would not be something that you'd jump out of bed and say, I'm glad to be alive in here. But everybody has some type of a joy or a passion or whatever, and then find a way to get paid for it. That's the other thing. You're going to spend your life working. You might as well try and figure out something you enjoy, like what you're doing. You obviously love interacting with people. You love your art. Yeah, it turns you on. This is not a job for you per se, but you found a way to work it into your life. Yep. where it helps you. And so that's what I would say to people is find something you're passionate about. Not everybody likes to cook. I get it. No problem. I'm not going to shove it down your throat, but maybe you're good at writing. Maybe you're good at acting. Maybe you're good. There's a lot of different things out there that turn people on. It's as unique as our fingerprints. And then figure it out, and you have to reach out. You can't know everything about it, especially, and this is true of anything, but especially if you have a disability that's going to become between you and the goal, or you perceive that it's going to become between you and your goal.
Yeah.
Maybe your perception's off. Maybe there's information out there. I love podcasts. I don't have to see them. I can just listen to them, and I know I'm going to get the information I need, and that I'm not missing information. If it's a video podcast, which they have a lot of those now, I don't know when I'm missing information, and sometimes it makes no sense to me because it is. So especially with vision loss, just start checking out podcasts and stuff. You'd be surprised at what little gems are hidden in them, but you've got to seek it out. It's not going to come to you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Really, 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 really excited about what's going on with the Blind Kitchen. Like I said, I had to have you here to talk about it. But while we were having this conversation, I said to you before we actually started that one thing your story and what you're doing inspired me to do, and this is what I'm happy about. The fact that when people like you do what you're what you want to do, what you're motivated to do, then you see that cascading effect because it impacts others as well. So how has that impacted me? It's caused me to start thinking in terms of my art, how can I make the art more accessible to people who experience some vision loss? So I know you would have probably difficulty seeing what I've done, but I'm going to show it to the camera all the same. But I'm also going to make it accessible to you. I'm going to send it to you in an accessible format, in a fun way, and I hope you'll be able to appreciate the art that I've done. I tried to make a portrait of you, and it has gotten to a level that I'm quite proud of it. It's not a splitting image of who you are, but I think I've done a good job. So for everyone
who got me curious.
Well, yeah, that's how I want it to be. I want you to be curious. So for everyone who's really, well, you know what our podcast is about. So I am done with making some art of Debra, and this is my image of Debra Erickson. Now, it's not a perfect one. I know she's obviously more attractive than this, but I have made something, and I tell you what I'm going to do, just to let everyone know. I'm going to fill this image with glitter. I am going to make it, fill it with sensory sensations so that you can appreciate exactly what this image is, and then I'm going to find a way to get it across to you, Debra, just to say thank you for being an amazing guest and sharing your story with me.
Well, thank you. Can you kind of describe it to me?
Good.
What is it what is?
So this, what we have here, Deborah, is an image of you, and it is the image that I have in front of me with your logo next to it, where you're smiling. It's got everything in it, but mostly your face. And what I want to do with this image is I'm going to cover your face, the aspect of your skin. I'm going to cover that with glitter. And then hopefully cover it in such a way that you can feel the contours and know exactly what's going on. But yeah, a general portrait representation of you that I've obtained from your logo with the Blind Kitchen. That's what I
Can
have
you give?
here.
That sounds fabulous. Can you give me a facelift too? Can I look 30?
I will try my best. I will try. I mean, you look fabulous at the way you are, but I will try my best. Whatever it is, you never know with these things. I am really happy I've been able to make this. But even more excited that I've had this conversation with you. I know that you're going to go places with the Blind Kitchen, and I'm pumped that I'm going to in the grand, when people talk about the Blind Kitchen, I'm glad that it will be recorded that I had a conversation with you.
Well, thank you. It has been such a pleasure. You are such a joyful person. It's just nice, easy to talk to, fun conversation. And you also, I had told you earlier, your questions are so, you didn't walk on eggshells. Sorry for the bad pun, but you went right to it and just asked questions that a lot of people would be afraid of offending to ask because it's politically incorrect, or
Yeah.
it's choosing a side of a political perspective. And I think I appreciated those questions very much, and I'm glad you had the courage to come forward with them.
Oh, I'm glad at least that I think with some of these things sometimes it's really hard to judge how people would receive these. And I really came to this podcast to engage with you with the best intent, because I wanted to know, and that's why I have these conversations with people. I come in with a clean slate and I really want to learn. And that's why it's easy to ask it, because I'm coming from a place of genuine curiosity, not from one of trying to judge anyone, and it makes conversations easier. And I was like, you know what, who best to ask than Deborah? And so I said I was going to bring this your way. So thank you for being generous with your answers and with your experience. I'm really better and wiser from having this conversation with you.
Well, it was my pleasure, and I'm going to ask my husband to be happy with my generous answers. That was beautifully put. Honey, I'm being generous. I talk too much, yeah, but I'm just being generous.
Well, Deborah, before we end this podcast, can you tell us a bit about how to get more information with regards to the Blind Kitchen and what's going on, and just to keep updated on all that's happening?
Sure. So the Blind Kitchen is online only. It's theblindkitchen.com, and you can go on there and interact and see the audio described videos. Everything we ship to people is labeled both in large print and braille, so it's accessible to anyone. And blind people don't like silent movies, so everything is audio described. Even if you can't see anything on our website, you are going to know have access to the information everybody else has.
Yep.
The other thing we do are, if you want to sign up for the newsletter, that's free. I give a tip, a tool, a recipe, and then tell people where they can hear presentations and discussions if they want to attend. And the other thing I do are workshops and speaking for people because it's one thing for a sighted person to say, here's how you use this tool, here's how you use this, here's how you approach this, but there's credibility if you are the one with vision loss or whatever disability you might have, that if you perceive someone who you perceive to be like yourself, you're more likely to, first of all, engage in it.
Yeah.
And the other is to try again if you fail at first, because you know that someone like you can do it. So I have nothing against sighted teachers. We need them, and there are some fabulous ones out there. But there's something about having, especially if you have somebody that has more fear around certain things, that there is information and strategies out there to help you. And that was a generous answer.
Yes, it was. It was. I mean, just pulling from your example, just when I showed the portrait on the screen, I then again went into automatic mode and assumed you would understand what I had done. But this was a clear example. You then had to ask me to explain the image, and I think that was really that was just. I think people need to be a bit more thoughtful. I think that's the word, thoughtful, when communicating.
Or mindful.
Yes,
Yeah.
mindful when communicating these things to people with vision loss, or any kind of disability, because
Right.
you need to understand that people see, with, as a result of this disability, experience or see things differently. So yeah, thanks for that. Thank you
Well,
very much.
well, thank you. The other thing is a lot of people, regardless of their disability or whether they just won't ask those questions. They'll just go without the information. It's intimidating. I don't want to embarrass you. I don't want to, but I trusted you enough to ask you that question. If I hadn't trusted you, I probably wouldn't. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have.
Deborah, it's been an amazing time with you. I'm saying honestly, I cannot wait. This is an open invitation. I'm hoping that with all that's going to be happening with the Blind Kitchen, there's going to be loads more to share. I would love to network with you on that. So please, this is an open invitation. I can't wait to have you on my show again to talk about the phenomenal work you're doing.
Well, thank you. It's very fun. And if I'm ever in the UK, I'm going to give you a call.
Nice. Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Right. So everyone, this again has been Debra Erickson telling us about the Blind Kitchen and the phenomenal work she's been doing, making culinary skills accessible to people with vision loss. And it's been an amazing time. Please remember to subscribe to my channel, subscribe to the Blind Kitchen as well, follow her on social media to see all that's going on. And I can't wait till the next time that we have a conversation. Thank you again, Debra, and you have
I appreciate
a phenomenal
that.
day.
You too. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye now.